Hi there, the winter. Today we had about, I don't know, 3 or 4 degrees Celsius in Poland, a little bit of frost in the night, but February is coming. This is January right now. February is coming, should be cold, hopefully, because our earth is becoming warmer and warmer, or even hotter. But anyway, today, winter shoes. I'm gonna tell you some very practical things, especially if you wonder why should you spend, let's say, $300 for the shoes instead of $200 or even less, what you get. And I can tell you right away that you will most likely get like 90% of the performance of the winter shoes of those, let's say, 70 or 60% cheaper than the highest models. But anyway, this is the Sidi Frost Winter Gore-Tex. So we've got the winter shoes, which are specifically designed for the winter and for the freezing temperatures with the membrane. Do we call it membrane? I think so, the Gore one. And the first thing that these shoes have, the first feature I was not aware of, because these are my first in life winter specific shoes, is the design of the shoes. I mean, when I bought these shoes, before I bought them, I let those guys in the store, it was online, know what's the length of my inner sole. In my case, it's 28 centimeters. So let's say Shimano 45 size, maybe you'll see it says 45. I have 28 centimeters inner sole, and that's what I need to have. Okay, so these came with 28 centimeters inner sole, but the shoes is like puffed up. If you were to pump the shoe without changing the size of your inner sole and the sole, that's the winter shoe, which means that it doesn't really touch around my feet, so that the little capillaries in the feet have better flow, and the more blood you've got in the capillaries, the longer you can ride. So that's number one. I didn't know these are wider, longer, even though the length of the inner sole is the same, higher, so just bigger. The second thing linked to this design is that you can also use a little bit thicker socks. So guys, do use thicker socks for a long ride. Like if you're doing now the endurance miles, use those if it's cold, but don't squeeze your feet inside the shoe, because then it will be working against you, because there will be less blood flow, even though you feel like you've got this insulation. It doesn't work like that. You cannot squeeze your feet inside the shoe. So in my case, I can use thicker socks with these shoes, which means simple design, just buffier, and it works well. So that's number one. Number two is that these shoes, of course, will have less airflow. There you have it. The frontal area of the shoe is like completely closed for the wind, but there are some parts which will have at least a little bit of the airflow. In my opinion, this is the frost model, right? So we are riding in the freezing temperature. I would completely close even these, because the toes are the first and sometimes the only area of our feet which get cold or even freeze, so they get numb. Have you ever got cold around the ankles of your feet? I never did, but these shoes have higher part around the ankles, and that's not necessarily the advantage. Why? Number one, I never get cold here, but number one is, if this is the frost, right? So freezing temperatures, you never use the shoes only, you will use the warmers. And since you are using the warmers, they will always be even higher than these shoes. So I don't really think that we need these on such a model. This is the first model, the Defender, Sidi Defender, or just any other shoes, which won't be as high as these, will still be good. So if you just look at the picture in the online store, okay, so the most expensive ones are also the highest ones, that's what I need? Not necessarily, because you will need to use the warmers. And the other thing is that when you are using your bib shorts, which have the zipper ends like right here, which means when you do this, the zipper might be giving you some pain. So it's not really comfortable. It depends on how large the zipper is and how long your bib shorts, the long ones, are. But usually on most of my bib shorts, I do not zip all the way. I need to stop here because otherwise the zipper here doesn't feel good. So I don't really appreciate this part being higher. And then, so we have the design, it's buffier, which is good. We have this higher thing, which is not that good. We have less airflow, which is good. And then we have the Gore-Tex membrane, which is good, but not necessary, in my opinion, because I never sweat at my feet area in the freezing temperatures because it's just too cold. So let's 0 degrees up to something like maybe up to like 4 or 5 degrees. There is no sweat. I don't think that I need the membrane here on these shoes. I just don't think I need it. So if you pay, let's say $300 for these shoes and $200 for the shoes which are maybe not as high as these and have no Gore-Tex membrane, they can be almost as good as these. And you save a lot of money for, let's say, very good warmers and maybe even some gloves, let's say. So Gore-Tex, if it gets over 5 degrees and you don't use the warmers, you want to have some airflow and you get sweaty when you go up the hill, let's say, might be good. Freezing temperatures, my opinion, not really necessary. Maybe you've got like much more, but I have like sweaty feet, but never on a 2 hours, 3 hours ride in the 0 and below 0 degrees Celsius temperature. So I don't think you need to spend money on this. So the final question, would I spend the money on these once again? My answer is yes, because I do ride a lot outdoors. And I bought these shoes 2 days before my 417 kilometers trip. When it was getting dark, it was below 0. When during the day, it was just around 3 degrees, I think, maybe up to maybe more. But these shoes were quite good. I still was getting numb in my toes, but this was 25 hours trip outdoors in the freezing temperature. So if you are using your bike in the very cold temperature, if you are doing your endurance miles in freezing temperature, you don't do it in Spain or Gran Canaria, then yes, these shoes. But if you ride even a couple times a week, let's say 1.5 hour long, still, if you get the cheaper shoes, which are like larger and allow you to use a little bit more thick socks, maybe those merino socks, and you use the warmer, because this is the shoes with the warmer, then in my opinion you will be fine. So These shoes only if you really ride a lot, you just want to have the best, the warmest possible. Yes, for 90% of winter riders and those cyclists who even train, I would say buy those cheaper ones without the Gore-Tex membrane, and those will also be good. Otherwise, we've got this 3-tech locking system, which works well. I never make it too tight around my feet. Okay, now you can see those very well. And this I never use. I don't use it on my road summer shoes. I don't use it on these because I don't really tighten it too much. Just done like this. I don't need this. Maybe some riders do. I do not use it. So this is how the shoe looks like. Some reflective areas which are not visible under the warmers. And maybe your question is, can you use those without warmers in 0 degrees? I don't think so. It will still be too cold. You need warmers. Most of my trainings, when I do like 3.5 hours, these shoes and warmers, and I still get a little bit cold in my toes. So just know that when you're riding like 25 to 30 kilometers per hour, breaking down the hills, and just riding long, you will get a little bit cold. So that's it. I hope it was helpful. Let me know which shoes do you use in the winter and how do they work for you. These were the Sidi's Frost Gore. See ya, guys.